So Digby, we've voted to leave the European Union, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop doing business with Europe. Business carries on.
It has been an enormous shock to the economy, and there's no getting away from it. You know, the Brexiteers have said, oh, it's business as usual. No, it isn't. And we have to understand that what it has created is uncertainty. The end game is a different matter. But the uncertainty, I just think I'll wait and see in that investment. I think I'll just wait and see before I do this. Whatever it may be, from the smallest business in land to the biggest, where risk is involved, the wait and see is happening more. But then, of course, that provides enormous opportunities, because if someone's got the courage or someone can see the opening, at the moment, the world is your oyster.
But that's an initial shock. That's going to
it'll dissipate. You're quite right. And it's business as usual in terms of the European Union, because unless you know something I don't, no one served any notice. No one has done anything else. I keep telling businesses, like, oh, it's all so different. No, it isn't. It's exactly what you are. I mean, a small business sitting in Birmingham today whose export market is basically the European Union, I don't see anything changes. I really don't, actually.
So if you're running that business, that small or medium-sized business in Birmingham, in Manchester, in Cardiff, in Dundee, wherever it happens to be, you're waiting for these negotiations to get going. This isn't an overnight change. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. We're going to have to negotiate.
If I was making goods or I was providing services and I was already in an export mode, and I'm watching this today, I would definitely be thinking about how can I sell to Asia? How can I sell to the United States? How can I sell to Australia?
As a replacement for the European business that's currently
as at the moment, first up, as my safety net. So if I end up with a diminished reservoir of possibility in the EU by virtue of whatever negotiation happens, I've got my replacement. But if I end up with as you were, then I've got some extra. In other words, it's a win-win. And I wouldn't be waiting until I know where I stand. I'd be doing it now. And I would be actually thinking, how can I get into these markets? And actually, you've not got a better chance than today when you think that the dollar sterling relationship is making your exports 10%, 15% more cheap than they were on the day before the referendum. Use it. Use the ability. Get into America. Get into the dollar-based economies. A lot of Asia are dollar-based economies. Latin America is certainly a dollar-based economy. And get in there now and use the devaluation of sterling to your advantage. If you end up losing some market share in Europe, I don't think you will, by the way, but if you did, you've got a substitution. And if you don't, and the negotiation carries on your market there and your ability to trade there, you're making more money, pal. And, you know, there are rules in the European Union about state aid and what you can and cannot do. And if we're free of all that and we can compete on a level playing field, we've got to make the most of it. And that does mean that your and my taxes go in part to enable that. Now, if what that means is in units, it's cost 1,000 to get a small business to get an order, and back at the ranch in the Black Country, that small business basically makes 5,000 out of that. So it means they're employing 3 more people, and it means they're also paying more corporation tax, which builds your schools and hospitals. What a fabulous investment.
But we want to keep trading with Europe. So how do we do it? What are we negotiating for? Do we need to stay in the single market?
I think there is something in the ability to say, we will trade on the basis of a single market. Remember what that means. It means 2 things. It means no tariffs, but the other thing it means is the ease of administration of export and import. It means the ability that you can sell your gear to Southampton or to Salonika on the same VAT invoice. And you put it on a truck in the same way and it ends up in the same place. And that is as much as important as tariff. Now, that will never be the same again because the EU will not exist for Britain. So the admin part of it is something that has got to change, the ease of it. But the tariff aspect of it, do you make your goods and services more expensive in other markets? I actually believe the alarmists who are saying, oh, there'll be tariffs. I heard the other night somebody on the TV saying, well, there'll be a 10% tariff on cars being sold by Britain into the EU. Well, that's factually true.
Depends on the deal.
Depends on the deal. Yeah. Declan, you're so right. It depends on the deal. Because you see, Germany sells 1 million cars a year in Britain. So the first time that this Frenchman who's going to be negotiating for Brussels says, well, we're going to put 10% on tariff on every Jaguar that's sold in Berlin, I sincerely hope that the Brit doing it the other way will say, well, then there's 10% on every BMW sold in Britain. And the moment that happens, and every Audi, and every Mercedes, and every Fiat. So the moment you say, well, I'm sticking a 10% tariff on every Focus that's made in Valencia and sold in Birmingham, I sincerely hope that the boss of Ford, well, I know I'm right, the boss of Ford, the boss of Audi, the boss of Mercedes, straight into Merkel, saying, what are you doing? And I think it'll be zero tariff, not because Britain wants it, but because it's in no one's interest that it doesn't happen.